Next up, I'd like to introduce Pawel, and I am not going to butcher his last name. I will let him introduce himself. But Pawel is coming to us from Central NIC Group and is going to be speaking about leveraging product usage data to drive renewals. Pawel.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Everyone into MMA? Are you guys watching UFC? Who's watching UFC? Yeah, a couple of guys. Entering this wonderful stage with this awesome audience, I felt like a MMA fighter. It's like coming on the stage, I always want to do this, like, But I'm just a data guy. I'm going to talk to you about retention rates. There was this wonderful talk by Andy Simpson just an hour or so ago from VeriSign, talking about how to use the data for product retention, and he was talking from a registry perspective. I'll be definitely reaching out to Andy asking for the presentation because there was a lot of insightful stuff in there. I'll be talking today from a step closer to the customer, from a retail perspective. So I'm sure many of you heard this analogy that customer acquisition is like going on a first date. It's all about making the great first impression, putting your best foot forward, and just convincing the other person that you're worth their time and attention. Customer retention is like being in a long-term relationship. You've already won the other person over, but you cannot take them for granted, right? You have to keep and maintain open communication, listen to what the other side has to say, and surprise them with that gift every now and then on special date. So customer acquisition and customer retention are supposed to be focusing on different things, but the bottom line is the same. It's about building a lasting relationship that benefits both sides. So my name is Pawel Rzeszucinski. I'm the head of data and AI at Central NIC Group, the group of world's best domain and monetization companies. So today I'm going to share with you a couple of tricks and tips about how to navigate this tricky territory of customer retention using your data as the GPS. But I'm going to take a slightly unorthodox approach to this. So I'll be telling you why falling on your bum is critical for customer retention, what learning to walk can teach us about retaining customers, and why evolution could actually be awesome at retaining customers, but it's just missing out. So I'm going to start from like a business perspective, because in the domain industry, I hear a lot that it's all about customer acquisition all the time, and the reasoning is, once you get your customer, it's very difficult for them to move to another provider. Things like transfer outs, they're not straightforward. They're time-consuming, not easy processes. Yet I think you'll agree with me there is a difference between a customer that grows with you and is really successful, and someone who, okay, didn't go to the competition, but they just churned because they failed to do anything with the domain, and they just lost interest. So at Central NIC, at Central NIC Retail Division, we make 75% of revenue and 80% of profit from retaining customers. So these are big numbers. So just like car manufacturers, they don't really make money by producing the cars and selling them, but rather servicing and other, like all the value-added services along the line. Or music bands, they don't really profit from recording LPs, but by touring and selling merch. For us, customer acquisition is just a door opener, and the real fun and real profits begin with customer retention. So we've noticed that in order to get the same kind of financial benefit that we would have gotten by increasing the retention rates by 1%, we would have to increase our efforts on the acquisition side by 5%. So there is so much to gain focusing on customer retention, yet I keep hearing customer acquisition is the king. So let's walk through the customer acquisition funnel. And I like to use the analogy of a toddler learning how to walk. So this kind of overarching, kind of subconscious hypothesis is I need to start walking to survive, okay? We somehow know we have to do this. So we try different things in the beginning, I'm gonna roll like this, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna repeat the things that work, maybe avoid the stuff that didn't work, and then, at one point, success. I can claim victory over gravity because I stood. Job done. Not really, is it? What happens the next thing the toddler stands up for the first time? Boom, on the head. Boom, back of the head. Boom, knee, very painful, very disappointing. Like, what is this? Like, I achieved my goal, I stood up. Not yet. I have to think again, but maybe I have to change my strategy a little bit compared to what I did at the very start. Again, I'm gonna repeat the things that work, but avoid stuff that doesn't work. And then finally, I learn to walk. I can walk off and focus on other survival critical things like testing crayons on my parents' walls, for example, or eating Lego blocks. So how is this similar to businesses? At the beginning, I have to acquire customers, but the overarching mission is to retain them because I know this is the real sustainable stuff. So I'm trying different things, how to acquire these customers. At some point, boom, I have acquired. That's a success. But what happens next? Churn. They go away, they fail, they don't renew. Why? It's, again, everything's wasted. They're not staying with me. I'm at risk. So I have to keep trying to retain them, but again, different strategy that I used for customer acquisition. And finally, success. I have retained my customers. I can grow in a sustainable way. And now here we get to a point where these two analogies no longer stick, because when we have a toddler that learned how to walk, that kid acquired all the experience, all the knowledge, and we have a second kid that wants to learn exactly the same thing. There's no direct way to transfer the knowledge. There's no way to quickly learn from one another. We have the evolution, and it's helping us, but it's just very slow. I mean, for all the reasons, I'm a big fan of evolution. It's great, but it's just slow at times. In an organization, we have it so much easier. We have all the customers with their unique experiences, leaving all the data crumbs behind them and allowing us to collect it and analyze it. And for us, the evolution is the database. And we can keep collecting the data from them. Different point of views, different angles, the data flows into these databases, and we acquire our knowledge. So, in order to be good at customer retention, use your historical data that you already have in your organization. Then maybe add some fresh data, real-time data, to make it stronger. And then use this data to learn your customer personas, their behavioral patterns, and customize your communication and offering for each and single customer. Job done. Thank you very much. That was it. No, it's not, obviously. So let's get into the how. And I'm going to start off by a very, very important thing, your data quality. Please accept the fact that your data sucks, okay? Because every organization's data suck by definition. It's just fact, period. And there are two things you can do about this once you realize the fact. You can set up processes and start improving this situation, or you can do nothing and kind of fingers crossed. If you cross your fingers, you're going to experience the GIGO or the CISO. Anyone knows what these stand for? Garbage in, garbage out, shit in, shit out, in more explicit terms. So what happens if you don't do anything about your data? If you just take it as it is and just hope that this magic wand of machine learning will fix everything? When you put your data into your six-figure mega AI initiative that's going to magically solve all the problems, this is what happens. This is you. This is your team. These are your stakeholders, the receivers of the solution, and this is your executive sponsor. Actually, no, this is your executive sponsor. He's not very happy about the six-figure waste, right? So what do I mean by bad quality data, inaccurate data? We are very good at reading this line. We understand what it means. But is machine really that good at it? I'm not talking about the recent developments. Duplicate data, your customer getting the message 2 times, 3 times, many times. Outdated data, that marketing campaign bouncing off because the email address is no longer valid. Or ambiguous data. So we know we want to contact John Smith, but which one? We have like 8 of them in the database. It's ambiguous. So if you take your bad quality data, and that's a true story, I've experienced this in one of my previous jobs, and you put it into your AI initiative, many bad things can happen. Customers start getting wrong communication. They're like confused. Hey, I have my MX record. Why are they telling me, hey, how about MX record for your domain? And they start thinking, are they even GDPR compliant? Are they handling my data in the right way? I'm clearly receiving like messaging which is not for me. And then the churn kicks in. They start to leave because they don't believe in you. So this external part is very important and can be devastating, but also internally in your company, people start losing faith in the data. They see, oh yeah, data, just marketing. Let's stick to our gut feelings and, hippos' opinions. So I've seen these too many times. Great analytics project, everyone's hyped up, let's do this. But then we stick that bad quality data in the wheel. At the end of the day, everyone's like, oh, this AI sucks, I don't like it. It's overrated. Take care of your data quality. So you did. You implemented some processes, started improving your data. So let me walk you through the types of data that you typically can have already in your organization. Sign-up data, so all the data that people leave when they sign up for your product on the website. Transactional data, financial transactions sitting somewhere in a transactional database. Website behavioral data, what do people do on the website, how they interact with the product typically. This is typically delivered by means of Google Analytics. Customer care, Zendesk, Freshdesk, so all the tickets, all the issues that people have. And third-party data, so getting access to the data you don't own, but you can pay for it and get additional insight. And we at Centronic cooperate with companies like Data Provider and Domain Crawler. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through each of these data types and tell you what you could be potentially thinking about from the perspective of customer retention. So with sign-up data, it's going to vary from domain to domain, but the bottom line will be roughly the same. Stuff like phone number, email address, country, where they're coming from, maybe currency, stuff like that. But you can enrich this big time by means of something that is called feature engineering, and this is where your data scientists and data analysts make most of their money. Because what you could be doing, you could be taking those raw data points and asking additional questions. If you take email address, you could be asking, oh, is this domain free? Or is it like maybe a company email? Or, if it's not free, do I see these email domains in my database already? If I do, this is a valued customer. If you connect country with the currency, you could be asking, is there a match between the country where they're coming from and the currency that they're using? Typically it will be a match, but if there's no match, you could be thinking, oh, that's something off. Could be in a positive, could be in a negative way. The same with phone number, country, is there a match? And the date, sign-up date is very interesting because you could be looking whether that account, that domain has been purchased during a weekday or a weekend, or was it in the night local time, or maybe during the working hours. If you combine this information, your data set is so much richer, and you can start analyzing it to get an additional insight. So when you combine sign-up data with your transactional data, we're talking about analyzing historical data, historical behaviors, historical transactions together with sign-up, so, and looking to create, for example, predictive models. So models that can predict stuff in the future. So when you take your historical data, you could be applying some statistical inference methods that are tuned to answer your burning business questions. So in the context of domain industry, or context of a new customer, what's the monetary potential of this new customer? Or what's the likelihood of them purchasing additional services? And then you keep this knowledge in some kind of an algorithm, enclosed algorithm. So then when a new customer comes to your site, this knowledge is already sitting in your CRM. All the information about the new customer is being analyzed by this algorithm, and in no time, in real time, your sales guys are getting good information about the potential of this customer. Sticking to transactional data, I want to tell you about market basket analysis, which is very well known in the retail, brick and mortar retail industry, where people have been historically trying to analyze which products go together and put them together on the shelf. So an example is, if we see that historically people purchase bread and peanut butter together, put that jelly next to it, it's likely they'll take the jelly as well. We see shampoos and conditioners together all the time. And there is also this legend among market basket analysis veterans. There was this analysis that you should be putting diapers and beers next to one another, which kind of makes sense. I've been there. I could have taken that beer, why not? Won't help, won't hurt anyone. But I think this is the point where the ethics department kicked in, come on guys, no, don't, let's not do this. But it could work. If you incorporate time dimension into this, so look into what people buy in a chronological order, you can be so much more advanced in trying to upsell stuff because you know historically what comes after another. Behavioral data. This is like the bread and butter for every CRM workflow, right? But you could be taking this data and enriching your analysis, because this is a direct information about the engagement of your customers. Stuff like, is the customer even returning to our website, to our product after they made the purchase? Maybe they attended a webinar that we organized recently, or maybe they keep coming back to that documentation section and they need help. So information about engagement is a very direct proxy of retention rates. And the last type of data is the third-party data. So in the domain industry, we have a problem because we don't know what's happening with these domains after we sell them. So getting help from companies like Data Provider or Domain Crawler, we are able to get insight into that, secret garden. Are they even using that domain? Do they have that MX record associated with it? What is this website anyway? Is it a blog, an e-commerce? I mean, what's the vertical of that e-commerce site? With this, you should be streamlining your marketing communications, because this is a very direct insight into what these people are doing, maybe what they need. And we heard from Andy from VeriSign that engagement is super critical for customer retention. So lastly, and this is the main point, when you take all these different data types and perform all the different analysis on your data, then you can have all these powers combined. Anyone recognize this? From all your powers combined? Anyone born in the 90s? You can have from all your powers combined, I'm your captain retention rate. So what I mean by this is you should be working towards producing a single number that informs you about the potential of renewal. Then set up workflows that are addressing specific needs of every single customer. How do you set these up is you refer back to all your analysis, all your single databases and the results of these analyses, because this is the place where like your customer persona and their specific needs are defined. So just to conclude, you should get to know your data sources that you already have in your organization. Improve the quality of this data, combine different types of data to enrich, consider external sources, third-party data, and then develop captain retention rate of your own flavor to address those needs of specific customers. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Pawel, all right, thank you very much. That was very nice. I appreciate that presentation. Now, the first thing, though, is, very early in your presentation, you said that, I wrote it down, falling on your bum is necessary for customer retention. Now, if that's true, then I must be an expert at customer retention, because I have fallen down more than once. But now let me just tie something back in, and I have a question about data quality. When I was getting my master's in economics, I kept bumping into what we call the replication crisis. Have you heard of the replication crisis? Yeah. What this is that it's like it's 39, or you can look it up on Google if you want to, but it's something like high 30s, 40%, 39, 40% of all economic papers, if somebody else looks at the data, they can't reproduce the results. Mm-hmm. And that 20% of economic papers, you have conflicting papers using the same data, drawing completely different conclusions, and sometimes that's a data quality problem. So here in business world, talk a little bit about data quality as it relates to what you're talking about.
Sure. I mean, so it is difficult in an industry that is not data native. So like legacy systems that were built not with the data as the first thing that they should be thinking about. Historically, the data has just been treated as a byproduct of doing business. Nobody cared about the data quality. It had to be like collected, but nobody really looked, and nobody thought about how we can use this data to extract additional insight. So people were just, there were no best practice of how to create good quality data, and sadly today we have to deal with this. We have to go back into this data, and a tip is to always get together data specialists, data professional with domain experts, someone who knows about the data, knows what these numbers mean, and the data professional can do something about this, can improve this.
So you say part of the solution is to make sure you don't just rely on the data scientist, you make sure that the data scientist is in alignment with the people who actually have the experience in the space.
It's a business function. In my understanding, data scientists and data functions are much more on the business side than technology side.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Pawel. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
You. Thank you
Everyone,
very much.
Pawel from Central NIC.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.